Welcome back, Gemsters, to another segment here on Gems Podcast. I am the founder and host, Miss Genesis Amaris Kemp, and today I will be interviewing Dr. John Chanaca. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about who Dr. John is, and then we're going to go into a fluid conversation. So, Dr. John Chanaca is the founder of MJ Chanaca Publishing, LLC. He has over 42 years of experience in teaching and counseling in Pennsylvania and South Carolina public schools. He holds degrees in elementary education and a doctorate in curriculum and instruction from the University of South Carolina. As a licensed professional counselor since 1985, Dr. Chanaka has also led a private Christian marriage and family practice. His educational initiatives include the Super Student Program and the Peer Pals AGS program, fostering positive learning attitudes among students. Under MJ Chanaka Publishing, he has authored series like Family Values, Super Student, and Cyber Warrior, promoting family values and cyber safety. His book, Humor and Heart, won a 2024 Global Book Award. Dr. Tanaka's recent work include a survival guide for parents series and the forthcoming Power Parenting. We all need that. Providing strategies to nurture successful students. Visit www.mjchanakapublishing.com for more information. And without further ado, I want to welcome the man behind it all, Dr. John Chanaka. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Genesis. Appreciate it so much having me.
My pleasure. And Dr. John, before we dive into the meat and potatoes of the segment, I always like to allow my guests to connect with the audience in a fun and personal manner. And we could do that by either doing a rapid fire 10-question game or an icebreaker. What are you in the mood for?
We can do the 10 questions. That'll be fun.
Okie dokie, y'all. Here we go. We're playing rapid fire with Dr. John and Genesis. Do 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 do. Question
Go for it, Genesis.
Question number one. So, Dr. John, what made you get involved in education?
Okay. Always loved to teach. Even when I was a young child. But going through high school and so on, I had various chances. I was the oldest in my family, so that was maybe one thing. My mother and father would always say, John, take the other kids there and teach them to do this or watch them and they don't get into trouble. So I had an early promotion by my mother and father while I was watching the other kids. But yeah, through in high school, I wrestled. I did scholastic collegiate wrestling. And I was the captain of the team. And in the summertime, I would run clinics and so on. So I was like teaching then. When I was 14, 15 years old, I got involved with teaching Sunday school, which for little children, little kids. And there was actually a girl I was interested in dating, and she was she was she was the head of that, and we team taught the Sunday school class,
Oh,
and so
nice.
through that and experiences, as a teenager. I just felt that God was leading me into teaching. I had a chance to be a lawyer, a full scholarship to Brown University, and then a job in New York with a lawyer who wanted to put me through school and get me into his law firm. And sometimes I've thought maybe I should have taken him up on that.
No, you're right where God wanted you to be.
Yeah.
Question two. What's your
Oh,
favorite color?
color. I love blue. I love
Okay.
blue.
Question three. What is your favorite drink? Coffee, tea, or something else?
I drink tea, green tea, ginger tea. I
Okay.
drink tea and water.
Question four. If you could sit down and ask Jesus any question, what would it be?
Any question? I would say, Um, how were you able to put up with those disciples?
Okay.
I would have been the worst of the lot, but similar to Peter. But yeah, I would have I said, how did you do that? Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Question 5. Okay. I want you to think about a time where you did something that others thought were like crazy, but it actually built your character. Name one incident.
You mean that I went along with and it
Yeah,
built
that
my
you did.
character?
So like whether it was something that was daredevilish or it was an activity like maybe jumping out of a plane or
Oh,
anything.
uh, climbing a tree and cutting the tree limbs. Okay,
Okay.
that was a dare of yeah, when we were raising our kids, we were very we were married like in our 20s, early 20s, and I had to do a lot of crazy jobs to kind of stay afloat. And one of them was cutting wood.
Okay.
And so I had a dare to be able to go up a tree and cut the branches and so on. And I did that. That was pretty stupid, I'll tell you. But I survived and cut the branches and started cut the tree and kept all the wood. And but that was the dare.
Okay. And question 6. Would you rather go on this old school show called Fear Factor where you face your fears or jump off a cliff in the ocean?
Mm, I'd do the fear factor thing, I think,
Okay.
at my
Question
age. Yeah, at my age.
Question 7. What's one piece of advice you would give to new parents?
New parents, um, enjoy each other and enjoy your children.
Okay. I like
Take
that.
it slow. Parenting is a long game. It's the play the long game. Enjoy each minute and take it slow. You get lots of chances as we'll get into this, but you get lots of chances as a parent.
Okay.
We'll get into this as we talk about stuff.
And question 8. We're gonna
Right.
go fast for the next questions.
Okay.
Question 8. Favorite candy.
Candy, Hershey bars,
Okay. Question 9. What is your favorite hobby?
golf.
Golf. Okay. And
Yeah.
question 10, it is our pass or play question. And here are the rules, Dr. John. If you pass, our roles are reversed and you get to ask me any question. If you play, I ask one last question to wrap up rapid fire. So are you passing or playing?
I'm passing.
Okay. What's your question?
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question. Um, how long have you been married?
Since 2018.
Okay. So not too long. Okay. Very good. Any
Mm,
children?
yes, we have two living and one in heaven.
Okay. And
Yes.
we'll probably get into talking about those children and so on. Good.
Yes. So
Thank you
thank
for
you.
thank you for letting me ask you a question.
My pleasure. So there you have it, audience. You learned a little bit more about Dr. John personally and professionally. Now we're going to segue into the main part of the conversation, which is around some of the work that Dr. John is doing. And he is a man that is a wealth of knowledge. But today I kind of want to spend some time talking about building trust and respect for authority figures. And the reason why I pick this today is because if you look at the way things are trending and the world that we're living in today, it seems like the youth today have no respect for authority figures. Everyone is going berserk. Like no one wants to respect their mother and father. They don't want to respect, you know, the authorities at school or this, that, and the third. And I'm not sure what has happened to our society, but I want to spend some time talking to Dr. John about it and hearing his perspective. And we're going to make this a fluid conversation. So, Dr. John, why is this one of your niche areas?
Yeah. It centers on all the work really we've been thinking about and doing. Just a little background. Okay, I taught elementary schools for 17 years. I was in the schools for 42 years, but The first 17 years I was in the classroom, kindergarten all the way to sixth grade. And I only say this to kind of preface a little bit of what we're talking about. Um, I learned a lot. I had a lot of fun, and I was young. Okay, I was in my 20s, and Jane and I have been married 55 years. And yes, and she was an elementary school teacher also when we started out. So anyway, after a couple of years of teaching, we decided to have our own family. We had two sons, and now we have three grandchildren. Okay, so uh, after those 17 years, I got into counseling in the elementary schools, and I was in the elementary schools as a counselor for the rest of the 25 years. Sometimes I went into special education and did some special things with gifted and talented, but for the most part, I was a counselor. And along with that, I had a marriage and family practice in the summer. In the evenings, I had a martial arts uh, program. I taught the martial arts. My sons both were black belts, and I was black belt. We came down to South Carolina. We started a school. We started off with 12 kids, and later that grew to 40, and then 50. And finally, those 12 that started with me became black belts. And we had a school over 700 students after 17 years. Now,
Wow.
I only say this because you can imagine how many times I've talked with parents then about children. Lots. And plus, we raised Jane and I raising our own, and then helping our grandchildren live around us. They live nearby, so we have a lot of involvement with children and grandchildren. And the programs that I wrote, like the Super Student Program and the Peer Pals Program, they were precursors to some of the things we're doing in parenting now as a publisher, publishing these things. So lots of work with children, lots of work with parents, and the aspect of this respect that you're bringing out comes up over and over and over. First of all, respect in the family,
Mhm.
children respecting their parents. And of course, 50% of the families in the United States ending in divorce,
Yeah.
lots of families suffering, mothers raising their children, sometimes fathers, sometimes grandparents raising kids. So there's lots of unique family situations and diverse backgrounds and social economic situations. But one thing that shines through all of this, okay, there's some things you can say, and that is when you take out love, when you remove love, and what I mean by love is I don't mean saying you're loving or you
Hmm.
love someone, but actually showing.
Yes,
Love
actions.
love is an action word, okay? And Christ proved this over and over. If we look at Corinthians, the love chapter, it's all about being selfless, not selfish.
Mm-hmm.
So when people are raising children, it becomes a concern because obviously you have to take care of another human being and
Yeah.
you have to give up your own part of your own independence and, let's say, willfulness, or you have to be more selfless, okay,
Mm-hmm.
because you're taking care of someone else. You're putting their needs before yours when you're tired and they're sick and you're trying to help them, okay, that kind of thing. So, what happens when you start removing that? You start removing lots of other things in the
Mm.
family, like respect, like listening, like having someone to look up to and follow as an example. Parents are the first teacher a child has. They're the most important teacher. Children were made to be raised by a mother and a father. Many times the family only has a mother or has a father or has a mother and father that are split, and so they're sharing the kid. But the love for that child, the respect for that child, uh, the agreement on certain discipline where the child can do certain things and shouldn't do other things, the way that they speak to each other, the parents speak to each other, the way they treat each other, all the character things are being molded and in this crucible that we call parenting or parenthood.
Mm. Let's pause right there, Dr. John, because this is a really good point. Because if you look at, family structures and dynamics today, okay, sometimes you may have the dual parenting. So the mom, the dad, or depending on what their relationship is, sometimes there's two moms, there's two dads, whatever the case may be.
Right.
Or you may have the single parent, whether it's the mother or the father. But then if you peel the onion layer back, what did their family dynamics and structure look like? Because sometimes it's hard to be the parent that you want to be if you didn't see that example set up, is some of the things that I've heard people, tell me, oh, well, I grew up in a house full of women. My dad wasn't around. I just had my mother. So I do things X, Y, and Z. But then whenever you become a parent, you can't always look at what and how you grew up. You have to strive to be better, and if you're not sure on how to do certain things, then ask for help, get some guidance or whatnot. Like
Mhm.
me as a young parent, and I am first generation American, like some of the ways my parents raised me, and I did have both parents, my mom and my dad, but culturally, some of the things they did were a bit different. And I now here I am as a mom of two, two on earth, one in heaven. I still take parenting classes because I want to learn, okay, how am I parenting my son and daughter? What are my parenting styles? Am I seeing things from a different vantage point or et cetera? And I feel like when you know better, you do better. And you shouldn't just say, oh, this is how my parents did it, I'm going to do it this way, because it may not always work, especially in today's society when we're growing up in a environment where everything's at someone's fingertips via the phone, social media, and et cetera. You have to
Mhm.
kind of change the way you do things. Would you agree or disagree with that, Dr. John?
Oh, that's good advice. That's all. That's excellent advice. Sure. I'm in a position at 77 years old where I've
Oh,
seen
wow,
three
you
and
look
four.
amazing.
Thank you.
I started.
I'm well preserved, right? Uh, but at 77, I've
Mhm.
seen, four generations, okay, or maybe five. My grandparents, if you had my grandparents, my parents, Gene and our generation, my children and my grandchildren. Um, yeah, you've hit it on the nose, but let me see something that's very simple, okay? I don't care what background you come from. You've come from a ghetto, your city, your rural, doesn't matter. I don't care where you live. It doesn't matter. Jane and I have been fortunate to travel all over the world, okay? Um, there are some things that are basic about people, okay? They're just basic. That's all. And they're the best things, okay? Like people want to be loved. They want to be respected. They want to be supported, feel community.
Mhm.
This is natural. And a good example is my father. My father had a terrible life. Okay. Terrible. He lived with an uncle. His mother died when he came over here from Greece. His father had four or five children. They couldn't speak the language. He was so mixed up, he didn't know what to do. He sent three or four of the kids to some other relatives, and he took a couple kids and went back to Greece. My father was just born, so he was given to an aunt. She died after a couple of months. Then he was sent to another aunt. She raised him to about 7 or 8 years old. Then she died. Then he went to an uncle. The uncle was a convict, criminal, a bootlegger. My father had to do all kinds of things. He never went to school past 9 years old, and he lived in a world of crime, okay, and violence, okay. He saw all kinds of things, and he swore with the best of them. He did all kinds of things, and finally, when he was a teenager, he found his real brothers, who were then by grown up. They were still in America. And make a long story short, uh, one of the uncles had accepted Christ,
Mhm.
and World War II was starting, and he started to share and to share his testimony with my father, and my father considered it. But anyway, into the war, they went 4 years, came back, and my uncle continued to work on him, and he accepted Christ.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, later, when I was the firstborn, and later he went on to I asked him one time, I said, Dad, I knew about your life from, your brothers and some of my uncles. I said, why, how is it that you turned out you were the way you are? Because he was the most loving, kind, generous person that I was raised in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
He had changed, okay, and from the kind of person he went 180 degrees. And he said to me, John, I just did to you what was never done to me.
Wow.
Now that's an insight, okay? He
Mm-hmm.
he didn't have any education at all. He was very bright, and he was very common sense was unbelievable. So what I'm trying to say, and to answer your question in long ways, he knew about selfishness and selflessness. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you are doing for others, when you are doing for your husband, doing for your wife, when you're treating her just like your own body, when she's doing the same, okay, and my wife is fantastic. I'm telling you, she's the best thing that ever happened to me. But when you have two people loving on each other like that, and they're loving their children on that, you can't go wrong. I have wonderful children, wonderful grandchildren. They're all super students and they're wonderful people. So, yeah, it takes work to do this. It takes a certain amount of selflessness. That doesn't mean I'm a saint, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, I didn't. That's where I needed my wife. She's the saint. But uh, good things happen, okay? It's
Mm-hmm.
possible, even in a world with technology and drugs and
Mm-hmm.
pornography and all kinds of things that you and I both know about, okay?
Yeah.
But it's protecting and loving your family, loving your children, being selfless, okay? So that means a guy can't go out every night with the boys.
Mm-hmm.
He
Yes.
can't go. His wife is there. They worked all day long. Maybe both of them probably took the kids, went back to childcare. Now, what are they going to do? A home is a place to refresh, to enjoy, to love on each other. So when you start saying, "Oh, I'm tired. I work all day long. Now I got to home to the kids. She hasn't done the wash. Uh, the meal's not done, and I'm tired." You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
You suck it up, and you finish the wash and do the cooking together and love on your children.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to die. Okay.
I love that because like I told my husband it's a partnership because in today's society like both sometimes the mom and the dad are both working and then we're both making sacrifices in order to provide a fruitful and
Absolutely.
nourishing environment for the kids that we brought into the world. They didn't ask to be here. We brought them in and to afford them, the luxury to travel. Like I'm West Indian and South American, so in order to travel, it's not cheap to go to certain places. So you
Exactly.
have to make sacrifices to provide for your children. And one of the things that I've learned too as being a young mom in my early 30s is like if I lose my cool sometimes or I say something that may be out of context to get my daughter to respect me, once I de-escalate the situation and we're both level-headed, I will go and apologize to my
Wow.
daughter and say,
Excellent.
I'm sorry because there were times when I felt slighted growing up with my parents and my dad is has passed. It's been almost 5 years now and I miss him dearly and him and my mom were married for 31 years. Um
Yes.
I sometimes I wish like, my parents would have apologized to me for certain things. So that's something that I wanted. And now that I'm a mom, I could extend that level of grace to my children. My daughter's the oldest. My little one is still very young, just a few months old. And that shows her mommy respects me as an individual, but she also respects me outside of just being her daughter for her to humble herself and apologize. That goes amazing lengths when someone apologizes to a child.
Absolutely. Saying you're sorry, saying I was wrong, I
Yes.
made a mistake, forgive me. These are
Hmm.
wonderful words. That's what builds this respect we're talking about and respect for authority. Now,
Hmm.
once you have it in the home and the kid gets that, okay, at 3, 4, 5, children are smart. They know when they're being loved.
Hmm.
They know when someone cares for them. When they get to be 3, 4, 5, then they're ready to go to school, okay? And now you're getting into the kinds of things I'm talking about with Survival Guide Part 1 and 2 and
Yes.
3. Okay. And by the way, this Part 3 is free for your listeners. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, if they sign up, I'll send them this, or I'll send you the link and the flip book for this thing free. Okay.
Okay.
And in fact, I'll in one of your emails and so on, I'll send you the link. You can put it in the notes for the podcast, and all they have to do is click on the link, and they'll get the book immediately. Don't have to do Amazon, anything like that. It'll just pop up the whole book. Okay, so it's even better than a PDF. It'll be a flip book and a Canva style email or ebook type thing. I'll give you two links. This will be free for them. All right. It'll be a good starter. But I put those three books together in something called Power Parenting. Okay. How do you like the picture?
I love it because
Yeah.
it's you're seeing the sun, you're seeing the linkage, and you're both reaching out. And that's what I get from just looking at the picture because I see a hand, I see the sun is radiating, I see
Uh,
another hand extending
it's a
out.
child's hand and a parent's
Here's
hand,
hand.
and boom, what's happening in the middle. Okay. And in this book, and it's also going to turn into I'm making a course called Power Parenting. It takes those first three books, the Survival Guide for Parents, Part 1, 2, and 3, and it puts them all together with a lot of other stuff, okay, modules and such. And that book will have the whole course in it, and then it will also have a course that'll be kind of a video thing. But the parenting part of our publishing has been fun, exciting, and we feel strong about it because we've lived it. And you feel good about something if you're trying to share what you're doing with people if you know it works, okay? And so that's the fun for us. And any of the funds that we have, by the way, the money that we earn, we're giving away. We're not keeping any of the funds, Jane and
Mhm.
I, for any of the projects we're doing. And of course, we have published 12 children's books, which were basically stories about our own children. Okay.
Oh wow, Patches the cat is a thief.
Yeah. And then we got this one. Janie did this one
Aw.
about Babe, a floppy-eared bunny rabbit. This one was done by my son Joel, who also is involved in our publishing company. And this is the one that won the award. We have two books that won the award, but this one, Hunter, the English Setter, and
Uh-huh.
and that's actually Joel. So
Oh
the
wow.
stories about our families. This was another cat that we had, Cricket the cat, and all these books are wholesome, beautiful, and they teach ethical and moral values.
Hmm.
Janie did this one about one of our grandchildren. Where'd the moon go?
Hmm.
Okay. And I did this one about a girl that was being counseled. And that lovely lady there, believe it or not, was our janitor. That's
Oh
Miss
wow.
Pearl. The book is dedicated to her. She was one of the best counselors I ever met, and she was a janitor in the school.
I okay, I want to chime in on that part. So that's one thing that I like to do in my corporate setting, my day job, is
Ah,
tell people I want you to treat the janitor, the cleaning people, the cafeteria people, just as you would treat the CEO, the CFO, or etc., because you never know what those individuals are going through, and you never know what words of wisdom they can impart upon you
words.
because when I used to be in the oil and gas and energy sector, sometimes some of the executive folks would not even acknowledge the people that take out our trash. I would talk to them. If there was food left over in the conference room, I would let them know, hey, you could have the food because we're going to throw it away anyways. So who cares if they want to eat it or take it as long as it's like, within the eatable threshold limit,
Sure,
for food
sure.
foodborne illnesses and all that stuff. We, of course, I follow guidelines, but stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like you want to throw it away, but they want it. Like, who cares? Just
Yeah,
give it
yeah.
to them. And it just goes to show, I think, how people see things, perspective, and how you're raised or whatever. And I always tell people, never get so mighty on your horse that you forget how to get on that saddle because the same ladder you go up is the same ladder you could come down. So
That's true.
always be mindful and respectful of where you are and who you're with. And that goes into, respect, authority, and etc. And I know Dr. John, oh my gosh, our segment is almost coming close to an end. So I definitely want to throw you an audible here.
Yeah.
Um, to say or give anything else that we have not chatted about? Because, oh my gosh, we're going to have to come back for a part two because this is just so good.
Well, I'd love to for the power of parenting. We're going to do that maybe late spring, summer. But yeah, I'd love to have you come back and we'll talk about this and some of the other projects that we're doing because we have 5 books that we're actually putting out this year, and one of them is the Cyber Warriors, which is for children and parents and so on about how to take care of themselves in the cyber world.
Oh,
But
yes.
yeah, but my son Joel has a book called Frogman Puck, which is a Christian sci-fi book. But just
Mm.
having a lot of fun with this thing. I'll tell you, I'd love to come back if you'd have us, okay? And I do want to make sure I send that book to your audience free, okay? They'll enjoy it.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. John. But before we depart, because we have about a little over 8 minutes in our conversation left, and I want
Okay.
to ask one final question before we jump into our CTA, the call to action. So today, with modern day parents, building respect and authority, along with trust, how do we get our children to know who to trust and who not to trust? Because sometimes children are very gullible, and this world that we live in can be a bit cruel, and not
Ex-
everyone has their best interests.
Exactly. Again, all these things work together, okay? As we talked about love in the family and all that stuff coming. And as you are working with your child, there's going to be situations naturally you're going to fall that are going to look like they're dangerous. Okay.
Hmm.
It might be a guy at the gas station. It might be someone who approaches you. And your child's going to watch how you do that. And it gives you an opportunity, an occasion to say, um, uh, you know why daddy or mommy didn't do this? It's because, we don't know this person, he's a stranger. He's unfamiliar. So I'm not going to say or do certain things. It's not like grandma or grandpa or Uncle Joe who comes to the house. It's someone that we don't know. So you get into, stranger danger and also trusting that little voice inside of you that
Discernment.
tells you this doesn't seem right. This sounds funny, different. I know I'm not supposed to go with a stranger. I know I'm not supposed to take things from strangers. Um, so I'm going to get away from this situation. So as you live your regular life, that's what I'm saying. Whether it's on vacations and going to the store and the children are in various situations, you're going to point out these stranger danger things or these dangerous situations with other people. And you can get into that not everybody is a good person, okay?
Hmm.
Some people are very selfish and they try to hurt people, and you can explain those things. But life provides you with those opportunities to be able to, again, talk with your children. Use every situation you have to teach them, enrich them, and then when they ask you questions, it's even better because then you can go
Yes.
further. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. John, for sharing that. And now we're going to jump into the CTA, which is a call to action. So, Dr. John, I want you to tell the listening audience how they can connect with you and learn more about the work that you're doing on the forefront as well as behind the scenes.
Okay. Well, the best thing, well, we're going to watch your podcast for sure. You have some beautiful things coming up, and I love the way you're putting them together. So make sure you watch Genesis podcast, Gem. Um, Another way to get in touch with us is just through our website, which is a wonderful. All our books are on Amazon and Ingram. They're in Barnes and Nobles and other places. But you could look us up at www.mjchanaca. That's Chanaca Publishing, publishing.com, and it'll be in the show notes, I'm sure, along
Yes.
with your free book. Don't forget that. Okay. So,
Thank you
yeah.
so much. I love that, Dr. Tanaka. And are you on any social media platforms?
All of them.
Oh,
Okay.
ooh, okay.
Yeah, we're on Facebook, on Twitter, we're on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. We also have our own YouTube channel. Okay. We have a YouTube channel, MJ Chanaca Publishing. If you Google MJ Chanaca Publishing, you'll see tremendous things that, all the books and everything else and everything that I've been in education a lot. So you'll see a lot of stuff about the things we've produced. But all our books and stuff the rule is beautiful, wholesome, that teach ethical and moral values. They're faith-based. We're Christians and we love the Lord Jesus. And
Yeah.
our picture and our stories all kind of revolve around that theme. Every one of them include the parenting and the Frogman Puck and all the other things we're doing. We're having a ball making these things, and we did it in our retirement. Okay. We'll have to talk sometime about how we got into actually publishing. If you have me back sometime, I'd love it.
I sure will. And there you have it, folks. You just heard Dr. John Chanaka, who is a wealth of knowledge, 42 years of experience in education, still going strong. He looks amazing at 77 years old, and him and his wife are going out there and making a difference in this world and really leaving an imprint that is driving an impact. So please go out and support the work that him and his wife Jane, as well as their son Joel, and those others in their community are doing to help educate our future generations, because it really takes all of us coming together to make this world a beautiful and brighter place. So I will link all of Dr. John Chanaka's information in the show notes. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe the podcast. We're on 40 plus audio platforms, and you could also see the video of this recording on YouTube by typing GEMS, GEMS, with Genesis Amaris Kemp. So until next time and the next segment, I hope you have yourself a wonderful day. Signing out with peace, love, and lots of blessings. Remember, you are your biggest asset, and don't let anyone make you feel invaluable, because you were created on purpose for a purpose to be a world shaker.
Beautiful.